Hi everybody, my name is Connor Stout and I am a fourth year student at Penn State University studying rehabilitation and human services. I'm excited for you to come along on this journey throughout this video to explore positionality and intersectionality as it relates to my own life. Positionality refers to how differences in social position and power shape identities and access in society. According to Delgado and Stefanik during week 7 of this course, we know that intersectionality is an examination of race, sex, class, national origin, and sexual orientation, and how their combination plays out in various settings. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. It starts with my mom and dad. Now married for 30 years, my parents have been my greatest support system. They both work. My mom is a 5th grade teacher at our local school district, and my dad is a healthcare executive for PA Health and Wellness. Their combined incomes have allowed me to be involved in a plethora of opportunities growing up. As the Angeloi and Sensoi would say during week 2 of our class, I was privileged. I was able to travel, play sports, and explore my own curiosities without having to worry about finding the funds to do so. Meet my dad, Bill. He grew up in an affluent community outside of Philadelphia. His parents raised him in a Catholic household, and he attended Catholic school throughout his childhood until furthering his education at Penn State University. My dad went on to graduate school to receive his master's degree in health policy administration from the University of Minnesota. His hardworking attitude and love for his family gave my mom the opportunity to stay home with my siblings and I for a large portion of her life before returning to work years later. Today, my dad continues to work as the vice president for his company. I admire his care and his drive to provide for our family. Now, meet my mom, Lindy. Unlike my dad, my mom grew up in a poor family in a small town called New Brighton, a blue-collar neighborhood just outside of Pittsburgh. As I mentioned, my mom was a stay-at-home mom for many years before returning to work 10 years ago. This experience provided my siblings and I with a structured home life. She spent a lot of time with us when my dad worked. She made meals, bathed us, and took great care of our home. I never had to worry about coming home to an empty house. My mom greeted me each day with a loving hug and a snack when I got off the bus. My mom also attended Penn State, but unlike my dad, she had to pay herself through college. Today, my mom continues to be her vibrant self, putting her students and loved ones before herself in all that she does. My parents have created a beautiful family, and I'm the youngest of their creations. This is my oldest brother, Christian. He is 27 years old and is a pilot in the United States Navy. He flies the P-8 Poseidon aircraft and is currently on a 6-month deployment in Japan. Next fall, he's getting married to his fiancée, Nicole. Next, this is my sister, Carolyn. She is 25 years old and is a kindergarten teacher at our local public school. She works as a fitness instructor as well. Carolyn is the only girl in my family other than my mom, so you could say she's one tough cookie. Lastly, meet my other brother, Colby. He is 23 years old and lives in New York City as an accountant for PwC. Colby is the comedian of the family. He is always going the extra mile to make others laugh and feel welcomed. In Chapter 3 of Is Everyone Really Equal?, author Robin DiAngelo explores the idea of culture. She defines culture as the characteristics of everyday life of a group of people located in a given time and place. With this being said, my family has its own established culture. As shown in the iceberg illustration from DiAngelo, my family has both surface culture and deep culture. Examples of surface culture in my family includes the clothes we wear, the language we speak, and the activities in which we are involved in. Examples of deep culture in my family include valuing leadership, positive attitudes, and respect. This semester, outside of culture, we have also learned about race. During week 2 of class, my peers and I watched the documentary, Race, The Power of an Illusion. The film uncovered how race resides not in nature, but in politics, economics, and culture. It reveals how our social institutions make race by disproportionately channeling resources, power, status, and wealth to white people. In the film, historian of science Evelyn Hammonds stated that race is a concept that was invented to categorize the perceived biological, social, and cultural differences between human groups. I found her words to be powerful and engaging while stating an overlooked truth. My whole life, I have identified as white. I grew up in a predominantly white area with little to no diversity. All of my teachers during my life were white. Dr. H was my first black teacher that I have ever had, and spending just one semester with her allowed me to look at life from a new perspective. The setting in which I grew up kept my interactions with others who are unlike me very limited. It wasn't until I got to high school that I hung out with people who were different than me in terms of race. My community simply did not have a diverse range of races. During my freshman year of high school, however, a boy from Nigeria moved into my community. His name was Paul. Paul and I clicked from the moment I met him, and we became close friends. Like the students in the documentary, Paul and I realized that we were more similar than we were different. Paul was black, and I was white. However, we both loved football, music, traveling, and we were passionate about our families. Within no time, Paul and I began to hang out all the time together. We visited colleges, wrote songs in his makeshift studio, and spent every day on the football field with one another. I learned about Paul's life before he moved to the United States. He told me about his family back in Nigeria, and he was proud of his heritage, often wearing a necklace that represented his native land. My friendship with Paul takes me back to the middle of the semester when we discussed anti-blackness within schools. Paul was a very talented athlete, a topic of discussion for our scholars during week 6 of this course. In Chapter 3 of Spencer and Alucci's article, the authors state the superior performance of blacks in sports has been used to support arguments about their physical prowess and to feed into stereotypes that they are closer to animals. This quotation from the article is an anti-black example of our society using black students as athletes rather than scholars. The tendency to pigeonhole black students as athletic rather than scholarly not only perpetuates harmful biases, but also undermines their diverse talents and potential contributions to academic pursuits. As I mentioned earlier, Paul was one of only a few black kids in my community. It was evident that he was seen by white teachers as a running back rather than as a mathematician, and as a point guard rather than a writer. The emphasis on the athleticism of black people overshadows their intellectual abilities, and it must stop. This idea of anti-blackness is often found circling in the same field as whiteness, especially in the field of education. As a white male at Penn State University, I understand that whiteness is not about individual white people, but rather the social construct that has been created and maintained in society. Whiteness is a social, cultural, and historical concept that refers to the social, economic, and political advantages that are associated with being perceived as white, especially in the United States. During week 5 of our course, we focused on Kevin Lalley's book, Whiteness and Anti-Racism. In chapter 2 of this book, he writes that common sense structures of race, including multiculturalism, race is something one has, and race avoidance through colorblindness and color muteness, leave schools woefully underprepared and even counter-prepared to contend with race. We know this is true by the recurring statement from Kimberly Crenshaw's TED Talk, when you can't see the problem, you can't solve the problem. I hope that throughout this video you were able to see what life is like for me as a white male from a small town just west of Pittsburgh. During week 9 of class, Kimberly Crenshaw's definition of intersectionality was straightforward. She stated that intersectionality is a concept that acknowledges people's identities as multifaceted and interconnected. With this being said, I now understand that the intersectionality of my own life is made up of my family, race, relationships, and educational opportunities. Coming into Penn State in 2020, I was a naive teenager trying to find his own path at a large university. I can confidently say that in 4 short years, I have learned more about myself and those around me than I ever have. The memories that Penn State has provided me with are more than I could have ever imagined. I took chances and used my outgoing personality to meet new friends from all over the world. They have taught me what life is like for them, and through sharing our differences, I once again realized that we are all more alike on this earth than we believe. I encourage those who view this video to make friends with others who are different than them. By discovering new people and their intersectionality, we also learn a bit more about our own. The world is big. Go explore what it has to offer. Thank you for watching, and take care.